Okay, so in the previous class we have come across with so recursive functions, how recursive function can be used, and what are the different kinds of recursive functions. Examples also we have seen in the previous class, and today we would like to go ahead with managing a program's namespace. Let me take this case study of gathering information from file system and problem solving using top-down approach. So let me complete these two at the end of the unit. Probably after completion of these modules, let me go ahead and let me complete those two items. Okay, those two topics are there. So let me come across with managing programs namespace. Let us see at this particular point today. This point is pretty much important, and let us consider this particular point today. And we would like to have one or two programs on namespace also. Let us see what these particular points which are related to Python is. So normally, namespace in the sense, namespace can be allocated for a particular program when a program will be in execution mode. When after compilation, probably you people have come across different programming languages such as C, C++. Now we are learning something about Python at this moment. So there are two different types of methods which are being executed. So first method is compilation, second method is interpretation. Compilation can be always used to compile the program, entire program at once, and then the program will be sent for execution. Whereas if you consider the interpretation, interpretation could not be compile the program at once. It is going to take each and every instruction from the program and can be convert that particular instruction into low level can be executed directly. So what is the basic difference between compilation and interpretation is compilation in the sense it could be always compile the program, translate the high-level program into low-level program at once, and then execution will be get started. In compilation, this is the specification where we have to consider. Whereas in interpretation, so interpretation can be taken step-by-step process will be considered in interpretation. What does it mean? Statement by statement is being taken and can be translated to low level and can be executed. So this is the general process of interpretation. However, our Python programming language is interpreted language, and it is a scripting kind of language. So that is why soon any variable can be assigned. That particular variable can be given its name and given its value. Then that particular name and assign that particular value. The space where exactly it is being done will be called as the namespace. That is called the namespace actually. And if you consider as far as C++, let me talk about object-oriented programming languages such as C++ and Java. So they do have they do also have namespaces, but that namespace and Python's namespace will be having some. Just wait for a while, and some people. Not getting information, and I don't know where exactly to wait. Okay, however, C++ and Java followed by C, everything does have its own namespace, but there is a huge difference between the namespaces of all other languages and Python. Let me give you. So normally in C++ or in C or Python, you are able to import some number of header files. Let me say iostream.h. Let me write using Notepad here. Then you could understand very easily. So normally in C++ program, you are include or you are what you call import one particular file, header file. So hash include io iostream.h. This file can be included so that you can able to use all input output functions and whatever the class specification you have to take in, and how could you create a particular object for that particular class. Everything can be done, and all those references will be available with this particular header file, with this particular preprocessor. So in the name of C++ or in the name of Java, in the name of C, what is the namespace in the sense? The namespace can be included. For example, it could be the namespace which have been given to any C++ program. So the namespace of C or C++ or C++ or other programming like other object-oriented programming languages, it could be have two different types of parts. Sorry, two different types of parts here. One is preprocessor part. So preprocessor, let me say, so preprocessor in the sense .h files, and second one is local variables. I mean, whatever the variable you are supposed to consider here. Of course, variable might be having different contexts. So local variable, parameter variable, or function reference variable, or many other kinds of variables are there. We will discuss those variables a couple of minutes, after a couple of minutes. However, namespace for all other object-oriented programming languages will be having two parts. One is preprocessor, something like this, and second part will be the variable references. Without the preprocessors, you could not execute your program with any other object-oriented programming languages other than Python. Whereas if you consider the namespace with Python, Python does have only one particular portion here. That portion will be called as local variable. So local variable, there's different kinds of variables. However, module variables or parameterized variables or temporary variables. However, many other kinds of list of variables are there with us. We will discuss everything. But the major difference between major namespace differences between all other object-oriented programming languages with Python will be this one. Here only the variables will be gets referenced by the namespace, where other programming languages will be referenced its header files, let me say preprocessors and local variables. So that is the basic difference between these two here. Normally, these namespaces are used to, so if you consider in C++, higher versions of C++, you could see something like this. So using namespace std, standard, followed by, after this particular statement, you are expected to use hash include, let me say, IO string. .h is not required here as far as this particular point is concerned. Whenever you have to use this particular statement in our program, of course, it is not there in Turbo C, Turbo C++. It is not there in Turbo C++. It could be there in developer C++ or Microsoft C++. With those kind of languages only, versions only, we have namespace standard will be there. So if you use this particular statement, of course, header file does not require any .h file. If you put any .h here, obviously it could be Q or it could be produce some kind of error message, because already you have chosen your namespace, that is standard namespace. So within that particular namespace pool, you are picking up one particular preprocessor that is called as IO string. .h is not required. So this is the specification where exactly you are talking about C++ in our previous languages. Whereas in Python, not required to specify namespace specifically or externally. Externally, it is not supposed to be defined. And here, namespace can be used to allocate the names for that particular variable and control the specific variables while designing any kind of program will be done by the namespace of one particular one particular language here, and Python does have its own features of namespace here. Let us see what are those features here. So normally in Python, so four different types of namespaces are, I mean four different types of variables are there as far as the namespace is being concerned here. First one is module variables. Normally in Python, so we don't have any preprocessors, we have only modules. We don't have any .h files, we have only modules. If any outer module will be there, I mean external module will be there, those modules will be imported, so and then they can be used. In such a way, you can use the module variables. And secondly, parameters. When you have to create any kind of function, you may be you may be pass some kind of parameters or arguments to that particular function. And then temporary variables or local variables, you could call it as local variables also. So local variables which are used to execute some process of that particular function or main body of that particular program. So however, method names. So these are the four different kinds of so what you call variables which are comes under namespace of the Python. Let us come across with each and everything in detail. So module variables. So these module variables will be normally, if you consider math module, so import, you may be write something like this as a first and foremost command as import math. So soon math will be gets imported by you. Obviously, what are the method variables which are used for this particular math? Everything will be gets imported to your Python program. Okay. So soon you have to use those method variables. Obviously, you are supposed to give values immediately, because by default these method variables will be seen. These method variables will be seen empty values. So soon you may be imported those method variables. You have to give some names to that particular method variable, something like that. So math.sqrt or math. So abs absolute value, something like that. Okay. And then a parameter. Normally, parameter will be behaves as a so information which is being given to the variable. Information which is being given to the variable here, sorry, function here, information which is being given forwarded to the function, and it could be always available at the methods or functions header. They can be available at functions header, and they will be available. These parameters will be available. So when the method or function will be called by the user. When a method or function will be called by the user, then only those parameters will be available. Until then, parameters would not be available for access those values. Okay, namespace. I mean allocation of name and allocation of value to the parameters when a function or method will be called. If a function or method will not be called, obviously you could not have those values within the namespace. That is what you need to consider. Then followed by temporary variables. Of course, these are also as parameters only. Temporary variables will be always receive these variables when they are supposed to be introduced. Let me say in Python program, some x will be equal to 10 or x will be equal to 0. If you take something like this, obviously this is a temporary variable which could be assigned its value as 10 here. Okay. Otherwise, you may be write a for loop here for I in range 1 to 1 comma 10. So immediately I will be assigned within this particular function. I mean for loop header, I will be assigned to 1 here immediately. So when you have to create one particular temporary variable, something like this, immediately you must be assigned value to that. You must be assigned value to that. Directly, you are not supposed to use something like this in our program. So x, you could not leave as it is. You must be assigned some value. X will be equal to some 20, 200, whatever the I mean value which are required as per your particular program. You have to assign. You have to immediately assign it. And these temporary variables will be available. These temporary variables will be available as far as the function's scope, or as far as the function's lifetime, lifespan. If a function lifespan will be available for some 20 instructions, of course, temporary variable could also be available with those 20 instructions only. Soon 20 instructions will be get server. Obviously, temporary variable scope or lifetime will also be get server. That's what you need to consider here. Then followed by method. Normally, methods will be gets created by any class, and of course, those class will be the using class. You can create any object here. You could create any object. A method name will be always used to referred with the name of any object. I have also given some example here. So here I would like to take one particular input here, that is sentence will be equal to taken some kind of sentence as input here, and then so immediately I'd like to take one method. That method is one string method. That method is called as split. Okay, split is the method here. So not normally this method will be always mentioned with a dot or period here. Okay, so that is what you are supposed to be specified here. Sentence is a string kind of object. Within this particular object, you have one particular method. That method is split, split. Okay, they have been operated. Then therefore, it could be gets referenced, and it could be perform such kind of operation. Okay, and the object will method will be always accepted. Object name followed by dot followed by your method name. Whatever the method name, it could be taken. Okay, this is what about the namespace. And the namespace does also have two more features. First feature is scope, and second feature is lifetime. First feature is scope, second feature is lifetime. Let us take this particular scope. Previously, you people have heard some kind of word while talking something about variables. What is the scope of variable? Normally in C++, people will be spell, or people will be reference one particular word. That word is scope. Thereby, scope in the sense, what is the lifetime of that particular variable during the execution of one particular program. If you consider any variable, what is the lifetime that particular variable which is being available within that particular program? That is called a scope. Scope over there in C, C++, Java, .NET, or all other languages. But in Python, scope doesn't mean as like as that. Scope will be the context of a particular variable which could be given. The context in the sense, for example, I am trying to execute one particular program which is used to identify the given number is prime or not. Thereby, I would like to use some 2 to 3 variables. So thereby, some n, which is Rx, which is used to identify as a program as a prime number. To evaluate this one, to identify how many number of divisors, so div will be taken as a variable which is called as identify number of divisors for x, something like that. So a context that will be given as a name, and that must be having some kind of meaning. So A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, don't define something like that. You have to specify. Yes, you could see sentence. So people will understand, end user could also understand, yes, user. The programmer wants to take some kind of sentence out here. Word. So the person will be taken, the person will be define some kind of words here. Something like that. So take some kind of a clear word or clear set of characters which will be illustrate you a perfect meaning of a particular variable, and also give the context in the sense what is the value of that particular variable, so which is called as the scope, which is which is value of which is the meaning of the scope here. So scope could also be refers its value. Look at this. Scope could also be refers its value here in namespace. So where exactly it has been occupied the memory and what is the value of that particular memory. So that is also called as scope. So let me give you very important point which we'd like to consider. Already the same thing was replicated here. Okay. So temporary variable, if you consider a particular temporary variable as its scope, it is being restricted to the body of the function. Okay, so the scope also means that it could be restricted to the body of that particular function or body of that particular main function, however whatever it may be, also called as the scope. And then temporary variables, as like as temporary variables, you have parameters also. Parameters could also be considered as temporary variables. They also be taken their values into the function, and they could not be accepted. They could not be identified with other program space. Okay, that is called as scope of the specific thing here. And then let us go ahead with the lifetime. Lifetime. So what is the importance of lifetime? Let us take one small example, then we would like to explain what is the importance of lifetime over there. During the program's execution, let me give you one example here. So let me define a small, very tiny kind of program. The program will be, let me take a variable x will be equal to sum 10. Okay. So this variable will be considered as it is a local variable. Let us consider. And I'd like to define def. Let me consider fun function of. Okay. And here I'd like to define variable REFU refer to fun. This variable could be referred to fun only. So here also I'd like to take the variable name as let me consider x only. So here it is 100. Okay. If you have any deviations, 23 for example. Okay. Let me print out this particular variable here. So a value of x in function is comma x. Yes, my function is gets over. And then again I'd like to take a print. So value of x in value of x at local. So local is, you could see the difference between what is the specific value which is being developed by the function and what is the value of x at local. So you could see the difference between those two here. Here also x only. Lifetime of this particular x will be available within this particular area only. At this particular area only, you have this particular x, and the lifetime of this x will be available with the local area. So let us see this one here. For example, let me save this particular program for a while, and let me execute for a while for you programs. Scope of that particular variable, and let me run this particular program for you. Okay. Sorry, I did not call this particular variable, I mean this particular function anywhere else, so that is why you could not get the fun off. Okay, let me call this particular function here, and let me execute this particular program one more time. Look at this. So I have called function for the first time, and then I have printed the value of local variable x here. So look at this, at function X value is 23, it has been produced here, it has been produced here, and then followed by so local variable. If I would change the calling, if I would change the calling here, let me put that calling here, then execute one more time. So look at this. Look at this. The value can be changed. So scope or lifetime of this particular variable will be available until the function execution, and the scope of this particular variable will be available until end of the program. And this variable cannot be conflicts with this particular variable. Conflict in the sense, same, we have taken same name, we have taken same name, and this particular name cannot be conflicts with any other so name which has been defined within the function here. So therefore, lifetime of this X will be so with the Python program, complete program, and whereas lifetime of the functions X will be available within the function. Okay. So this is what about the namespace which is being available for you. And this is the class for today. Okay. Let me take your attendance. Yeah, attendance has taken. Thank you.